Star Scrappers Orbital. This is a competitive game in which each player will collect cards and will use them to build their own orbital, their own space station, and also you will use card effects to damage other players, not just to improve your own situation. Definitely this is a game that has a quite competitive and confrontational element. And you're gonna collect cards, build things, do things to annoy other people for 5 years. Each year is a turn or a round of the game. At the end of the 5th round or year, then you score points. Ultimately, you will collect money and other effects to then collect tokens that will give you victory points. Each player starts with a basic tile here, and they will use it to build the new sections of the orbital. Each player starts with a worker that you place there, and you may be able to acquire more workers during the game, and you will use them to trigger certain effects. This is your starting module. Once during the game, you will be allowed to upgrade it. You can spend 4 space dollars to buy one of these modules, and then you place it there, and that's a one-time thing. So maybe you will want to do it early on in the game, because then you get to benefit from different icons and different effects from your starting module. Then you will have a hand of cards. There's quite a deck of cards here, so a lot of variety, and the cards are 2 kinds. You have effects, or say events, and they simply do what the text says, and then different modules, that is sections that you can attach to your starting tile, building out, sort of like remind them your Galaxy Trucker in a way, in which you spend part of the game building things, and then there are game effects that will place damage on those. And you have red modules, yellow, blue, orange, purple, and green. Red and orange sometimes, even though I'm not colorblind or color impaired, I have to look twice to make sure which one is which is very important, because that's a major source of points, is to have majority in those colors. We'll see how that works. So when we're playing, players will take turns taking action. During your turn, you can take one of the following actions, and there is a very nice player aid here, super useful. You can build a new module from your hand of cards, and in which case the cost is standard 6. If you are attaching the new module to one of the same colors, say red with red, then there is a discount of 1. And for example, I decided I want to build that one, then I need to attach it to an open connection on my starting tile, or later to an open connection from an existing module. So that would be a legal placement there, giving me 2 other ways of connecting new modules, and you also attach them with the side with those 2 arrows and those outgoing arrows sticking out for further development. Suppose then later on in the game I decide to attach this one also. I could attach it there, and I do it that way, for example. And then later this one, and so on and so forth. So that's how you build modules. Those modules will give you different kind of effects. For example, and basically those effects, they may be ongoing, in which case it you just get whatever benefit is described there, or there may be actions that require you to operate the module. So as your action for the turn, you can choose to operate an existing module, in which case those that need to be operated have an arrow. On the left of the arrow, you have the price that needs to be paid to operate it, which may be credits or other things, or workers placed there. And on the other side of the arrow, you have the advantage indicated there. And when there is the picture, the icon there of an astronaut, then it is one of your workers that you placed on your tile there at the beginning of the year, and then you send them there and you receive the effect. Each worker can be used only once per year, and each module also can be used only once per year, unless of course there are rules that allow you to break that rule. There are effects, that allow you to break the rule, because with the event cards, there's just going to be, well, a ton of different things. So Once per game, spending 4 space dollars, you may upgrade your starting module. Spending 6 space dollars, they're called not space dollars, but when it's sci-fi games, I always like to call them space dollars. 6 space dollars to build a new module, discount to 1 if it's the same color, plus other discounts if you can find ways of getting that. Then we have a market there of 5 cards available per year. It's a bit unusual in which the cost works there. I don't think I've seen it in other games. In which the furthest card from the deck costs 1 space dollar. The closest one costs 5, at least early on. We just say the furthest one costs 1, the next one is 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So if somebody's buying this one at the cost of 4, then all the other cards are slided towards the deck. And then we count the value, again starting with the furthest one being 1, and this one now is 2, 3, and 4. If I buy this one for 2, now this one is still 1, this one is 2, and this one is 3. So just an unusual way of resolving the changing value of the cards in the market based on other people buying cards. I just don't think I've seen that in other games. So, but again, those cards go in my hand, very, very nice that way. There will be game effects that will place damage tokens on modules. Damage tokens on modules, you want to place them on other people's modules as much as possible. That module cannot be used for its effects and also will not count at the end of the year, which is super important because that's when we score points. Again, other actions may be to play a card for its event, in which case you simply resolve the event. So that's what you're going to do. Players will go around each time you take an action. You can also pass, and even if you pass, you can go back and play again later that round, unless everybody passes in a row, then the round is over. At the end of the round, that's the end of the year also, that's when you count victory points. The main source of victory points is majority of modules in each category. So first we check yellow modules, who has the most? The player who has the most, or players who have the most, score a point. Who has the most in blue, and then orange, and then purple, and then green, and then red. For each of those, you score a point. So there is a basic amount of 6 victory points to be had for majorities, and again, if there's a tie, people collect them. But you only count for majority modules that are undamaged, so that do not have this kind of token on them. So that's super important. So you award victory points, then you do a couple of upkeeping things, such as replenish the market, your crew becomes available again, possibly you have more crew icons, so you will get more crew there, that sort of thing. But really the most important thing there is you count victory points, and at the end of the year, after that is done, all damage tokens are removed for free. But again, probably you want to remove them during the round so you can score them for majority. That's the general idea. Buy cards, use effects, be mean to other people by sticking damage on their orbitals, increase and expand your orbital, try to get majority in as many categories as you can, score a ton of points, a player with the highest score at the end of the 5th year wins the game. Also just say the last time you score majorities in the 5th year, each majority is worth 2 points instead of 1, so that makes the last round a little more exciting that way. Star Scrappers Orbital. I like this game. It has a lot of things going on at the same time. A lot of recent modern mechanics that are combined together, almost like a collection of them. You have action points, or at least an action points feel to it, in the sense that you have a list of things that you can do, and they're very different from buying a card, building a module, using an effect, sending a worker somewhere. So you have also that element of worker placement, which is secondary. If anything, at the beginning you want a lot of workers and you realize that maybe you don't need so many because you do not have all the effects that that are needed for that, or that then somebody uses an effect and steals your workers, that sort of thing. You have tableau building, engine building, which are trying to create things that will magnify your previous advantage into more powerful things over time. And I like engine building games, and I like tableau building games. One problem that I have with those is that sometimes they last too long, and so then somebody has a great engine and mine is not so good, and then for the last couple of rounds I know there's no way for me to catch up to that person. But not here. This is like a thing, it hits a sweet spot there in which your a good engine will allow you to win, will give you enough advantage that you feel indeed it is rewarding to build one, but not to the point of creating a runaway leader and then making the last part of the game trivial because you already know who's going to win. Actually, it probably, the game will probably end fairly close. That's in my experience, because there are just so many different ways, so many different ways of scoring, different sorts of points, different ways in which you can try to attack the leader. And so to me, that's fun. So a lot of interesting decisions there, and it's fun to see how the game at the beginning looks like. Well, there's nothing I can do here. Maybe the first round you build like one module. Maybe you have some other things that you can do, but you feel like there really isn't much that you can do the first round or two, and then the engine starts working. Then you start chaining off effects of one another, and then you have the sense of satisfaction. Oh, now I see there are all of these other things that I can do. And when you get to that point when you're just ready to, just sit back and relax and see your engine work really well, the game is over, and I like that. Remind me of Furnace, that also has a similar idea of an engine building game that does not overstay its welcome. The engine building games, in my opinion, should be over when the engine starts working well. Then you start building a new one, and the challenge begins again. So I like that. The game also definitely has a mean streak, but to me, it hits a really good spot between, just mean enough and not too much. My impression here may be colored by the fact that recently I played a game called Brew, and I recently reviewed it. So if you want to take a look at that video, you know what I mean. When I say that game is like too mean. The economy is extremely, incredibly tight. You can calculate exactly how mean you're gonna be, and you can just plan step by step how to completely destroy the opponent, who has basically no recourse. Here I like the fact that you can still do some mean stuff, especially when you send damage, but there's still limited information, because I do not know if you have cards that will allow you to take that, or I go out of my way to place some damage on your thing, but you have a card that removes it. And that's fun, because maybe I shouldn't have been that mean. Or again, something else happens that way, not knowing exactly what the opponent has, allows people to calm down a little bit before they spend too many resources, too many actions, just being mean for the sake of it. Whereas, as opposed to say in Brew, no, you have all the information that you need, and you know exactly that your evil plan is gonna work. My depriving you of things, my putting damage on your modules rarely is gonna really reduce your agency, so that you feel you're being cut out of the game. You can still do other things. You can use your money differently. So I find that meanness has more of a friendly banter attitude here than again in other games. And so I found it really had the nice balance of, yes, it can be confrontational. Yes, I'm gonna destroy this, and I'm gonna block that, and I'm gonna do this and that thing against you, but you're gonna do them to me, and ultimately we're both still gonna do different things. I like the fact that the game gives you an incentive in building a lot of things of one kind, a lot of scientific modules, or a lot of military modules, because those effects are more powerful when you have them together. But then scoring at the same time actually rewards variety, because I have 10 military modules and you have 0. That's still going to score me 1 point, which is exactly what I would score if I had 1 military module and you had 0. So again, it's very interesting that the design pulls into different directions, resulting, at least to me, in interesting decisions, because I want great effects, but I also need those to score, because each category or module is going to be scored once per turn, it needs 1 point. I like that. A lot of different things to score, and both incentives to diversify and specialize. So, fun. I personally enjoy the many different mechanics that have been combined here, especially tableau building, engine building, and worker placement. I think that's been done pretty well in a way that I find fun and entertaining. The game also comes with a solitaire option, but I'll leave it to you to explore that because it requires managing at least 2 AIs, and I'm not super interested in that. And also, in this game, again, there is an element of friendly banter, of banter, of friendly backstabbing, and I like to friendly backstab my actual friends rather than an AI. They don't make the kind of funny faces that my friends make. And so this is my assessment of Star Scrappers Orbital. I enjoyed it. I think it's a fun game. Maybe not for everybody, again, because of the confrontational element, but personally, for me and my group, an entertaining game.